you and I are not India. You and I are 0.001%.
So still we are not there, but
we are not there.
Yeah.
So he said it honestly.
We are not, but we are still reading his books. We are still reading all the big authors.
Elite of the upper middle class, or the 80% of your people are living in the villages and they can't even read.
But let's accept it. We are also part of India. There are intellectual minds in this.
That's a niche country. That's a cherry on the top. We are cherry on the top.
All right, now I think it's time for a short break here. We will discuss that do women and men write differently when we return. In this part of the debate, let us ask our guests that when it comes to writing, does gender matter? Sherry, your views on this?
No, that's a highly objectionable statement for anyone to make. It's like saying men run better than women. I can understand if somebody says men run faster than women, understandable. Longer legs, they can run faster, maybe stronger, maybe. But if you say they run better, I would not agree.
Suchita?
Well, certainly, as I said before, gender Callink has no gender. You cannot say that men write better. With one such politically incorrect statement, I think he has denigrated the styles of great writers like not only Jane Austen, you have Charlotte Bronte, you have Emily Bronte, you have George Eliot, you have Gertrude Stein, you have Emily Dickinson, you have Virginia Woolf, you have Toni Morrison.
I mean, all these half of the names which you have taken right now, Suchita, they actually wrote under male names. Their own real female names were,
yes,
were
but
different.
Today they stand as good as any other male writer, or probably more. Toni Morrison, no.
Why did they feel that need during that time?
Maybe the societal pressures at that time, maybe we were living in different times. So, but today, well, I think when he comes out with such a statement, I think he does not believe in concepts like women empowerment, or maybe it's, I feel that he is exposing himself much more rather than, by putting a question mark on the writing styles or narrative technique of the women writers.
Right. Supriya, on the other hand, why should we be so touchy about what Naipaul says? He's entitled to, to his way, as Mr. Wattas said before we went into the break. These can be conveniently ignored.
I don't think it can be conveniently ignored. For me, it cannot be, the simple reason being that how can anybody, how great stature that writer might have, make such a statement? If it's not just about conveniently ignoring, maybe conveniently ignoring would, one side of it would be that we know what we are and it doesn't matter, but the other side of it that maybe we are still suppressed and oppressed enough not to raise our voices. So it's that part of us that makes us voice ourselves, voice out, because see, men and women would have different styles of writing. We cannot ever say that they can they would write in the same fashion. Not even two male writers would write in the same fashion.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But saying that a male writer is better and a female writer cannot be his equal, that's bad. See, when you're talking about his Naipaul's own genre of writing is post-colonial writing, but the very premise on which post-colonial writing, as the theory says, is based on the fact that there should be no binaries. We should do away with the binaries and polarities. But he himself is kind of reinstating and reintroducing those binaries, which theoretically a post-colonial writer should be against.
Yeah, but two small points here. One, I'll take on from where she said. One thing is that he never really, this is implied. What he said was nobody's my equal. Let's be clear of that first of all. He didn't say men, women clearly. But he is better than anybody else.
That's very important.
Let's at least give him the benefit of the doubt there. That makes him simply him egomaniac, nothing more. And that's okay. I mean, one is entitled to be whatever he or she wants to be. I'm okay with that. But my question goes a little further.
Right.
He said this about women writers. Would we take it as lightly had he said black writers, Dalit writers, African writers? He does talk about people. He has denigrated, as you said, a large number of groups. But had he said this instead, would we have kept quiet?
I don't think so. Yeah, Mr. Wattas, you have something to say.
People talk more about him than read him. That's the pity. And now if you look at his writing output, more than 50% of it is in the realm of non-fiction. You know, he travels, you know, in Africa, he travels through South America, he travels through the Islamic countries, he develops insights. Now, let's be honest in at least acknowledging a few things. His book, India a Million, 3 books on India, an Indian area of darkness, it raised hackles, but it was all true, and people now acknowledge that. His second book, India, Wounded Civilization, on the emergency days, very honest. Third, India, A Million Mutinies. Now this has become a catchphrase. He wrote it in the early 90s that India is, you know, now if you look at his, you know, great contribution to his intellectual powers of understanding the world, roughing it out, and you know, going to dangerous places, writing things which could kill him, you know, his views of the, so he is, I mean, sorry to say, he's been doing a man's work, man's job. There are certain things which, you know, I'm not denigrating, you know, any women personally. What I'm trying to understand and explain, now in the realm of fiction, I think he's off the mark in saying that no women writer can be as great as me. But when it comes to the collective output and work of a writer, he's written so much that, you know, just to have that you know, that discipline and that dedication, if you look at his complete contribution to the written word, I think it's enormous, and he has delved into areas where not even, I mean, what to talk about women, most men would tread.
Yes,
and
Supriya
he
is eager to say something.
and he
Do you
speaks
agree
his
with-
mind. He speaks his mind.
Nobody is
Right.
questioning his place in literature, isn't it? It's not Mr. V.S. Naipaul as a writer who is on the
yeah.
pedestal. Well, nobody is questioning. We all call him the greatest writer, but it is he. I don't know what he seeks to achieve by saying that, no, nobody is equal to me. I would just pose this question to Mr. V.S. Naipaul, that if you have to shock the world, shock with shocking subjects and
Subjects.
issues related to the, rather than stooping down to such
Right,
things.
right.
But
Yeah.
as sir said that, you know, what he said has become, you know, has come true, and you know, it has become the catchphrase which everybody is using. But okay, you know, whatever he's written might have become a catchphrase, but we cannot say the same about, you know, what he's written now. Women are not equal to him, or they cannot, you know, be equal to him as far as writing is concerned. That cannot become a catchphrase, because that's not only politically incorrect, but that's not true. I mean, we have, you know, so many women writers who have done, you know, commendable jobs. You know, they've got Nobel Prizes, just like
Tell me,
V.S. Naipaul.
Supriya, do you agree that women are sentimental?
I cannot say that all of them are sentimental. You cannot, you know, generalize or categorize that, you know, women in terms of, you know, being a gender, you know, are sentimental. No, we cannot say that, because we have had writings which are, you know, so strong, you know.
But do they have a narrow view of the world?
Of course not. I mean, you read Arundhati Roy, you read Jhumpa Lahiri. How can you say that they have a narrow, you know, view of the world?
Sherry?
Not being part of the literary crowd, I can basically simply say that they're just writers. I mean, why are you going into those nitty-gritties and saying क्या लिखते हैं, किस पे लिखते हैं? I know people who choose every week to write on the same subject in a newspaper.
But do you think that women and men, they write differently?
Lesser writer than anybody else because they focus on one
But they do
topic.
write differently. Can you actually
is
tell
not-
while
no,
reading
no, I
their
don't think you can,
one
no.
paragraph or one page that it's written by a
Maybe he
man?
can, I don't believe anybody can, but maybe, because you see, I'm not doubting his genius. The problem is with what a genius says, and then, as she says, that becomes acceptable to other people.
Right.
That is
So
dangerous.
today you've
It
actually...
is his opinion, chalta hai. I mean, it's his opinion. But you know, I'm already seeing echoes of it here.
Okay.
He's also using sexist language by saying he's doing a man's work, which is one thing we say, मत कीजिए आजकल ऐसी चीजें use. ये वाले terms मत किया कीजिए, gender neutral terms हमें use करनी चाहिए.
But tell me one thing, what's wrong being sentimental? I think everyone is sentimental
No,
in
I
one's
think the
own
more
way.
Emotions come in your writing,
Women,
it's worth
women are
reading.
made
It's
that way,
worth-
and even a person like Mr.
Yeah.
V.S. Naipaul hasn't been able to do away without his sentiments. I mean, the way he has treated women, the way he has used them, even his official biographer says so many things. If you
What
read
he would have
that,
written in the letters which he actually sent home when he used to feel homesick,
Yeah.
He was emotional at that time. He was sentimental at that
If
time.
he's so much against sentimentality, why can't he stay alone? Why can't he, sentiments, feelings, emotions, the whole world revolves around them. And if women choose to focus that a little bit, which might complement the male writing, what's wrong about it? I don't
feel
understand.
beating up one's wife also needs some kind of sentiments. You can't just do that. You need to have at least some sentiments of anger to do that.
That comes from within, right? Now let's talk about romance, Supriya, romance writing. Okay, I don't doubt men can and they do write romance, but it will not read the same as a romance written by a woman.
I really don't think so. If it comes to, if somebody feels strongly about something, I think anybody can write equally good. It's just a stereotype and cliche, that only women can, women are more romantic and, they can write better, when it comes to domesticity and, the world that revolves around it. So I don't think so, but if somebody feels strongly about it, see, the reason Jane Austen, as ma'am also pointed out in the beginning, because she had a very limited scope at that point of time. She was she was writing, that was a Victorian Victorian era, and she the Victorian sensibility or Victorian society did not allow women to do much.
Right.
They were not allowed to go. They were in the four walls of the house. But today it's not the same.
Right. Supriya, time is not allowing us. Last question from you, Mr. Wattis. Does gender affect publishability? I mean, can an author's sex affect the ability to sell stories?
No, nothing to do with that. Nothing, because I presume anything which holds the reader's eye and his attention and is basically at the end of it, all literature, all writing is storytelling. Earlier there was a man under the banyan tree telling stories in the village. It is storytelling. And if you, the depth of your storytelling, the themes of your stories, how much depth, how much concerns, how wide are the concerns, how complex are the things, that is
I don't know what would be, one thing I would just like to say, I don't know what would be Mr. V.S. Naipaul's take on a novel or a movie called Gone with the Wind, where the main character, Scarlett O'Hara, is certainly not sentimental, and it's written by a woman who has written the only novel in the world, and she's famous for that. She's certainly not sentimental.
again,
So that proves him wrong there.
The thing is that he may be right when he says women have a narrow view. Narrow in the sense, he didn't mean it probably in the, hopefully not in the negative sense. Narrow could be a adjective term also. This gully is narrow. It's as simple as that. So it's a narrow, because that's what their exposure is. Maybe not everyone, but that's what was being implied, the earlier writers at least. My point very simply is he didn't say it in this sense. I have a feeling he was being dismissive. Now that's the thing which hurts people.
But he must be having the last
not a
laugh,
fact,
because
I do not want to do this, but I'm
controversy.
cutting you in between. Thank you so much for coming into our studios this evening. Regardless his statements about the talent of women writers and the larger statement of women in the world that they are not fully masters of their own house make for an interesting light in which to read his books. With that, we end this issue of Prime. We meet again tomorrow with another issue. Namaskar, Sat Sri Akal.